I arrived at this school and the director was really excited to show me these brand new snare drums they had bought. They looked nice, you know, I will admit they look good. They're definitely like a beginner entry level snare. He said, yeah, I finally got rid of these junky ones that I've had sitting around here for years. And I look over, 3 old junky looking snare drums, and I had a heart attack when he told me he was throwing those in the dumpster. Hi, my name is Casey Dreamus. I'm a music educator and composer, and on this channel, we talk about things that help your music program thrive. You know, drums are actually pretty simplistic. It's basically just a cylinder that you drill holes into and you put all the hardware on, and then that's it. You can clean up a snare drum or any drum pretty easily if you have a drill and a couple basic tools around. The reason I had a heart attack was because the snare drums he had were 3 Ludwig Superphonic snares. It's okay if you don't know what that is. If you're not a percussionist, you probably don't. These snare drums were really top of the line back in the day. It's like the Mark 6 saxophone. People want this snare drum. I see people constantly online trying to sell a Ludwig Superphonic snare for around $700 used, let alone if it's brand new, it goes for quite a lot. Since he was throwing it out, I asked if I could take one, and he said yes. Pretty rough shape. It looked pretty crusty and gross. I got some WD-40 from the hardware store, and I got some aluminum foil. I used that to basically cause like a sandpaper effect where you can get all that gunk and everything off of the chrome, and it doesn't scratch the chrome because the aluminum is actually softer than chrome. I use that on the body of the snare drum, I use that on the lugs of the snare, and I also use that on the drum hoops as well. It gives it a really nice shine and it cleans it up. The difference is night and day. Now the butt plate, yes, that's what it's called, and the switch, they were pretty old and kind of beat up, so I decided that I was going to toss those, upgrade it a little bit, and get a brand new switch and butt plate from Pearl. I had to drill new holes into the body, but in the long run, it really wasn't that hard. There's a theory out there, which to be completely honest, I don't really know if it matters that much, but every time I have my drum apart, I just figure I might as well do it since it's cheap and easy to do. And that's putting cotton balls in the lugs themselves. The theory is that the springs inside the lugs make a high-pitched sort of sound when you hit the drum. The cotton keeps those springs from making that sound and kind of helps kill it. While I was at the hardware store, I also bought some plastic washers to make it all look uniform around the drum. I put Vaseline on the tension rods to make sure that those are moving smoothly. And that's also something that if you're going to have a drum that sits around for many, many years, you want to put something on there so that it doesn't fuse up or it doesn't get hard to turn. The drum heads that were on there probably been on there at least 2 decades, if not 3 decades. So I got new drum heads, and then I wanted to experiment a little. I've never had a snare strand this big. It's a 42 snare strand, meaning there's 42 little strands on there, and I just thought it'd be cool to have this big sound and see what that sounded like. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I'm always looking at this through the lens of what a band program can afford or a band director at a small school can afford. This whole project cost me about $100, and I know that may seem like a ton of money to some people. Instead of buying a $100 snare that's not really very good and it's gonna break over time, you can get this, which is going to last you for decades, as it already has. But when you consider how much a trumpet cleaning costs or a saxophone GPC costs, for about $100, that snare drum is going to last you a really, really long time. One upgrade that I didn't do, but I hope to do later, is to get new hoops for it. Get some die-cast hoops, really heavy duty. As a drummer, it's a nice drum and I want it to stay that way, so upgrading the hoops to me would be worth it. But I kept the hoops on there that were already there and they work fine. The main point of this video is just to share the fact that don't judge a book by its cover, especially when it comes to drums, and if you don't know what they are. Make sure you check with a drummer or a percussionist and see if it's a good quality. Is it worth putting money into a repair instead of buying a new drum? It's a much better quality for you and your program. If you guys have any questions on refurbishing snare drums or any other sort of percussion instrument, please put a comment below. I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to know what else you guys are needing in your programs at this time. So thank you guys so much. Have a good one. Bye.